for me to introduce our speaker. She's a first-time speaker here, and I've just been waiting to ask her because I wanted her to kind of feel accustomed to being here and have people get to know her. But I had a real special feeling about her the first time I met her. So here's her bio, and it's written in first person. I've lived in 36 different places in my 69 years. I have always been curious, headstrong, and defiant. I came to heal the wounds of an alcoholic, violent family on my dad's side, and KKK and Masonic violences and racism on my mom's side. Boy, you took on a big thing. Didn't I? Yeah, what a soul contract you made.
Yes.
I'm the eldest of 4 siblings. My family has been my source of love, trust, nurturing, and joy. My 9 nieces and nephews have been my children. I've lived in Michigan, Wisconsin, California, New York, and Maine. I love lakes, oceans, streams, and showers. I have loved many men and women, but not married. I'd like to try that before I die. I'm a writer, artist, musician, singer, and dancer. I cannot be confined, controlled, or intimidated. You know, it took me my whole life to get there. I'm a leader and learning how to listen. It's a joy to be here. And so please help me welcome our friend Starlight.
Thank you very much. I'm so tickled to be here. You know, the first day that I came, how I came to be here was I had COVID last Christmas, and I was restless. I was like up and down off my sofa, sleeping, you know, trying to eat, feverish. And you know, when you're very sick, sometimes you make a spiritual reckoning. So I had been at a Byzantine Catholic church for 4.5 years, and it was delightful. I mean, I enjoyed it. I was raised Roman Catholic, and this is a little twist off of that. And I was in the choir. I loved to sing, and, you know, I made a lot of friends. I was kind of not a celebrity, but I'm a leader. You know, I'd walk in and all the women would like sit with me at the table, but I wasn't getting what I needed. So I sat on the sofa and I Googled enlightenment, and this came up. And I brought this to follow, but I can tell I'm not going to follow it. I had met a man named Stanley Goth about 15 years ago. A girlfriend of mine from the Byzantine realm, 2 girlfriends, brought me to his home. And he was a spiritualist. He had a church on Woodward Avenue, which I never attended, but I got to go into his basement on Saturday nights. He'd have seemed like 20 people, like in a snake formation on folding chairs in the basement. And each person would channel like these most bizarre people from around the world. I mean, like sea captains from the 1700s. And we can take that off.
Oh, you want to?
Yeah, it's just going to keep falling. Anyway, I was so enthralled with that. I thought, wow, I love this. And I have channeled, you know, I've just had messages come up from different people, and I'll be sitting across from someone and I'll want to say it, but, you know, our culture doesn't always meet that with, you know, with joy. You know, some people just think that's just plain weird. So I suppressed that most of my life, but I was always getting messages. Anyway, so when I saw this Center of Enlightenment, and then I looked at the pictures of everybody, and they were all kind of grayish and my age, and I thought, oh, I'll fit it right in there. So it took me till February to come, and the hardest part was telling about 5 people at this Byzantine church that I would no longer be coming. You know, and it's weird because I should have probably just came first, then made a decision. But I told them before I even came, I won't be coming back to that, maybe just to visit on the holidays when the good food is there. So anyway, that's what brought me here. And then I walked in, and I think Lisa or somebody said, welcome home. And I thought, well, that's weird. People don't usually say that to you when you walk through the door, you know? And then it was just so little. And then I thought, it's like a little toy church, you know? It's like, I'm used to basilicas and like Holy Redeemer, you know, like 1,000 people. So anyway, so my spiritual journey and the road less taken. The bottom line is, I was raised in a very strict Catholic German environment with, you know, like you heard, KKK folks, you know, a lot of dysfunction, a lot of alcohol. And so I was always looking for a way out. I remember my mom had 2 babies when I was 11 and one was when I was 13. And by 14, I was thinking, I can't wait to get the hell out of my house, because all I was doing was changing diapers, feeding babies. I mean, it was lovely. And I bonded with these babies. They're very close to me now. But you know, all my other girlfriends were out having fun. And I was always taking care of people. So I made my escape when I was 17, went to college. And that was, of course, for you young people, a very turbulent time in the country. You know, the Vietnam War was going on. Women were starting to get tired of their roles. Feminism was coming on. So this little Catholic college that they sent me to with a bunch of nuns thinking I was going to be, you know, in tow there, turned out to be a wild experience. You know, like I dropped LSD within, you know, 2 months of being there. I was tripping off all over. The campus was right on Lake Michigan. And I was just, you know, enjoying like a whole new way of looking at the world. And I never really thought I would veer off too far. I would get really close to doing stupid things, but Spirit would always like, you know, had his hand on me. And I met people like, I don't know if anybody's familiar, you older people might, Alan Watts. He was an existential philosopher. He traveled the country in the 70s, kind of making fun of people that plan and spend their whole lives buying things, thinking that if you have enough stuff, you'll be happy. Like, you know, when I get my house, when I get my car, when I get my boat, when I get my, you know, whatever I get, then, and we all know, and I learned this in Landmark Education, for those of you who've taken the Landmark Forum, that there's always that next carrot to pull us along, but it's not necessarily what's going to make us, makes us happy is this moment and the gratitude we have for just being in these bodies right now, you know? I mean, if we realized every moment, and I'm working on this, how amazing it is that we even manifested in physical form. It's phenomenal. I mean, you know, it's just from a biological standpoint, how many, you know, people don't make it into physical form. And I do believe in reincarnation. I had somebody do my Akashic records recently. I was a man 4 times. And then she said, you've had like 12 lifetimes, and I'm going to tell you about the ones when you were a man. And the one time you were a woman, you had like 12 kids. So that makes sense for why.
No wonder you retired.
Yeah, oh yeah. No more children. And my father's mother had 9 boys and a girl. So, and I am a lot like her. I wasn't around her a whole lot, but you know, genetically, she was a fortune teller and I'm a tarot reader, very psychic, and kind of like, you know, the party gal. She just would always, every time she came to a place, she'd make everybody laugh. And I really think that's a gift. I'm very grateful for that. My father was a storyteller. That's the Irish part of me. So from college then, I met a fella in Milwaukee, and he was a lot of fun. And he moved to San Diego with another fella that I really liked a lot. So Barry and Kevin started to go to school in San Diego, and they called me and said, you should just come out here and just be at the beach with us. So I did. I left my whole apartment behind. I was about 20, maybe 21. And I took residence up in San Diego. And if you've ever been to San Diego, it's got to be the most beautiful city in the world. And I got a job at a board and care home with a bunch of elderly people. So I got to take care of 15 elderly folks. And that made me really grow up fast because I got to see the beauty of aging, you know. And I would get frustrated a lot because I was 21 and I got a hot temper. And I'd scrub the floor and this little gal would come out and she'd stand there and just pee all over it. And she'd, oh my, they didn't have Depends back then. And she's like, oh, I'm so embarrassed. She's a little Southern gal, I'm peeing all over myself. And now I know that happens. You know, I mean, when you're 21, you're just like, oh, I just scrubbed the floor. So, oh, if you only knew what a bad temper I had. Anyway, and I still do, but I try really hard now to control it. So I'm going to jump to fast forward. I met my end in San Diego. I just missed my family too much. Came back home and then got involved with a bunch of people that were involved in the exercises in Christian living, which, if you're familiar with the Jesuits, Saint Ignatius Loyola, it's a whole program of being aware of your power in life through prayer. So you pray, you contemplate, and kind of like what you just said before, you get led to certain things, and then you charge out. You know, and that's what Ignatius Loyola did. He got rid of all his material wealth. He was very rich, and he said, no, we're just going to serve the poor. So that had a big influence. I got my teaching degree. I started teaching in Catholic schools. And then in 2000, a girlfriend of mine had a dream. It was she said, there's two arrows crossing in my dream and something to do with winds, maybe 4 winds. So I Googled that. And sure enough, there's this man who I'd read when I was in my 20s named Dr. Alberto Villaldo. And he was working with shamans in Peru and studying how, this is where, you know, the crux of leaving Catholicism. I have this anger that the Catholic Church came in and killed off, you know, so many of the Peruvians and Mayans and everything to make them good Catholics for Christ, took all their gold, sent it to the Vatican, you know. And so my whole life has been hating having been born into that Catholicism and wanting to bring the indigenous or the spiritual back to the Catholic Church. So anyway, I'm just glad to be here today. What else? I had cancer 5 years ago. I ignored all the symptoms, finally went in and I was at 84% oxygen. And the doctors told my family I probably wouldn't make it through, but they tried to do a surgery to save me. So how funny this is. Everybody came to me and told me all their secrets. And I'm like dying. I'm on, you know, I had oxygen. You know, and I'm like, I don't want to hear all this. But, you know, they figured I was going to die. Why not tell me? So then I made it through. And then they had to like face me, you know. Oops. I know. Gave me a lot of power actually for a while, but not the kind of power you want. So, yeah. And then I made a friend during that time. This is interesting. He might watch this. I don't know what to say. I knew him as a child, as a baby. I was at Girl Scouts and I used to cuddle him. My Girl Scout leader's the mother, and it was her baby. Anyway, he came into my life right after my cancer and chemo, and he said, do you want to go to church with me? That's how I got to the Byzantine church. I drove him. He didn't have a car, and we bonded just like a mother and son kind of thing. He's still in my life, and I'm at that crux right now. Why is it that whenever any man tries to love me, I push him far away? I think I have it that if you fall in love, then you got to surrender. And then, like my guru, I met Sadhguru. Like I'd say, oh God, I'd wait on him hand and foot. Well, why is he any different than any other guy, right? So that's my inquiry right now, is to be humbled to love and to allow love into my life. And it takes every form, right? People want to love us every minute of the day if we just let them, you know? Do you notice how we distract ourselves from being loved, you know? It's so funny. I was engaged twice, and both of the men became Jesuit priests. I just think that's hysterical. I think that's so funny. I drove them to the priesthood. So I'm going to end. I'm going to end with this poem. I hang out at a place called Manresa. It's over on 16 and Woodward. It's a Jesuit retreat house. And I've just finished my 25th retreat there. It's silent. You go in and you're silent. You can go to talks, but you don't talk the whole time you're there. You just write and think and pray. So this is the poem they gave me. And I'll end with this. Fall in love. Nothing is more practical than finding God, than falling in love in a quite absolute final way. What you are in love with, what seizes your imagination, will affect everything. It will decide what will get you out of bed in the morning, what you do with your evenings, how you spend your weekends, what you read, whom you know, what breaks your heart, and what amazes you with joy and gratitude. Fall in love, stay in love, and it will decide everything. And that's by Pedro Arrupe, who is like the highest connection you could get with the Vatican for the Society of Jesus, the Jesuits. He wrote that some time ago. So, namaste. Thank you for letting me be here. And it was just a pleasure. Thank you. Thank you.
Reverend Lee.